Back to the book. The news came by radio that the war was over. There was no defining our joy. Sergeant Quinn brought out a treasured keg of cognac. The next day, May 8th, would be VE Day. The townspeople held a dance for us the next night in the town guest house. One of the artillerymen was escorting a young girl whom he had met the night before, and she told him that her friend, Lieb, would like very much to attend with the captain. The small guest house was crowded with dancers, and the older men and women sat with the young children at tables around the sides of the room. The male dancers were predominantly GIs, but a few Czech young men were present. The orchestra reminded me of the circus bands in the U.S. as they played the waltzes, the polkas. The Czechs would join in often to sing the songs enthusiastically even as they danced. At the insistence of the band leader, Lieb agreed to sing, and the notes came forth in a clear, sparkling soprano. When she had finished, she made a brief speech, which the Slavic-speaking soldier told me said that the people would now sing their national anthem. It would be the first time they had sung it in public in 6 years. The people rose as one, and every boy, girl, man, and woman joined in the singing with clear, lusty voices that made goose pimples rise on my arms. Some of the older people cried, and it was all I could do to keep the tears from my eyes. When it was over, the soldiers began to cry, "Speech! Speech!" And the civilians caught on and applauded. I stood up on a chair in the center of the room, trying to think of something to say. I mumbled a few words of sincere gratitude for the wonderful reception these wonderful people had given us, and a soldier translated for Lieb, and she told the people what I had said. They applauded warmly. Lieb and I walked outside into the cool night air. In the distance, we could see fireworks exploding in the air above Pilsen, and we knew that they too were celebrating VE Day. I looked around me and saw light streaming from the windows, and army vehicles driving on the highway with their headlights on, and I heard the gay music and laughter from the dance in the background. I suddenly realized that I could light a cigarette once again in the open and not be afraid of drawing enemy fire. And I did. It was a simple thing, but it gave me a wonderful feeling that life was worth living again. I put my arm about Lieb's waist, and she pointed to the multicolored fireworks display and laughed. "Dobry, Dobry." I had learned that Dobry was good. And I said, "Dobry, Dobry." I looked away in the distance, and I seemed to see the faces of the men from companies I and G who could not see this great day because they had died to obtain it. And then their faces were gone, and I saw the mud and ice and snow of the Siegfried line. Then the exploding fireworks became bursting artillery shells in the Ardennes and bursting flak at Lipetz. But then the terror was gone, and I saw 2 companies of men marching by, and there was I Company and G Company, tired, dirty, weary, but with smiling faces. And somehow the faces of the men who had been killed were in the background, smiling and waving bravely to those who marched on. And Lieb looked up at me as if to ask what I was thinking, and I said, "Dobry, Dobry." And Lieb squeezed my hand and laughed. Yes, Dobry.